Matthew 27:45. Now from the 6th hour there was darkness over all the land to the 9th hour. Mark 15:33. And when the 6th hour was come, there was darkness over the whole land until the 9th hour. Luke 23:44. And it was about the 6th hour, and there was darkness over all the earth until the 9th hour. John, however, has a whole nother set of interactions before the darkness. The darkness is not mentioned at all. Just after this, Jesus, knowing that all things were accomplished, that the scripture might be fulfilled, says, I thirst. And that I thirst is in Matthew, after the darkness. In verse 48, took a sponge filled it with vinegar, put on a reed, and gave him to drink. Mark, after the darkness, which is 33. Verse 36, one ran and filled a sponge full of vinegar, put it on a reed, and gave him to drink. So I'm definitely putting the darkness here. And before the darkness, I'm going to put this interaction between Jesus, the Apostle John, and Jesus' mother Mary. So, just John. Now, there stood by the cross of Jesus his mother, and his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Cleophas, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus therefore saw his mother and the disciple standing by, whom he loved, he says to his mother, Woman, behold your son. Then says he to the disciple, Behold your mother. I don't think these exclamation points are necessary or proper. He's not screaming at them. I'm going to change that to just periods. From that hour, that disciple took her to his own home. That's where I'll stop, because then he asks for a drink, and I'm pretty sure that happens after the darkness. The darkness. Now, from the 6th hour, there was darkness over all the land to the 9th hour. So now, from here, darkness to there. Started here, what happened, then when it ended. Mark, kind of the same thing. When the 6th hour was come, there was darkness until the 9th hour. Luke, I guess that's really easy because they're all the same. And it was about the 6th hour. Now from the 6th hour. Mark, and when the 6th hour was come. Then I'm going to go with and because just earlier that paragraph began with now. Now there stood. And because otherwise I would not be using that word now, I'll say it's right here. Mark and Luke, and Matthew continues from the 6th hour. Mark is when the 6th hour. Luke, it was about the 6th hour. If I'm going to have about from Luke, I don't think I can have when. Or I could have about when the 6th hour was come. Or I can have from Matthew, from about when. From about when the 6th hour was come. So I'm just going to get rid of it was and have about. I want to leave off from Matthew. I can have was come if I don't have from. And about when the 6th hour was come, there was darkness over the land until. Mark has until. Matthew has to the 9th hour. So I would have to have from now to then. But if I don't have from, I can have until. Luke has until. Okay, so that makes it very clear. I'm going to leave off from Matthew and not use to later. About from Luke. When is Mark? The 6th hour, that's all three. Matthew, there was darkness. Mark, there was darkness. Luke, and there was darkness. But since I have when the 6th hour was come, I'm going to leave off that other and. Just going to there was darkness, but that's all three. There was darkness over all the earth. Earth is underlined, explained as land. Mark, over the whole land. Matthew, over all the land. Okay, Matthew and Mark have land, and earth is explained as land in Luke, so I'll go with land. Over is all three. Only Mark has the whole. Matthew and Luke have all. So I'll just go with all, majority witness. Matthew and Luke, all. The is all three. And land is Matthew and Mark. Matthew to the 9th hour, Mark until the 9th hour, Luke until the 9th hour. So I already know I'm going with until. The 9th hour is all three. Luke doesn't say there was darkness. Luke says there was a darkness. I'm going to put that in there. I don't think it changes any meaning, and I don't think there's any reason not to include it, so I'll just have it right there. I'm having second thoughts about the first statement. I think instead of about when the 6th hour was come, I would rather have from Luke, it was. When it was about the 6th hour. I think it's smoother. I just think it reads better. So the next thing that happens in Luke, verse 45 of Luke 23, the sun was darkened, and the veil of the temple was rent in the midst. The sun was darkened. That's kind of a reiteration of what just happened. There was darkness over all the land until the 9th hour. Now, this kind of gets into the whole context of what's happening. The veil of the temple that separated the Holy of Holies, that is only able to be breached by the high priest on the Day of Atonement. It was a symbol that man did not have full access to God, but Jesus' death, paying for all the sins of man, was what made the veil tear in two, meaning there's no longer that separation between man and God. We can go through Christ to God, and that tearing was the symbol. So I think that the tearing of the temple veil was not now. I think it's at the very moment Jesus actually dies. He has a few more other statements he makes. Now, this last statement he has in Luke, Father, into your hands I commend my spirit, I'm convinced that is his very last of his 7 statements. He says, and having said thus, he gave up the ghost. That means his spirit. I commend you my spirit. He gave up his spirit. That is the moment he dies. So this is his last statement. He has a few other things he says. Before that, where it says the veil of the temple was rent in the midst, I'm going to save that portion of the verse for later, but this first portion, the sun was darkened, obviously has to go right here because it mentions there was darkness. So I'm going to split 45 in two. save the veil being torn for the moment Jesus dies, at his last statement, and the sun being darkened for now. And I'm actually going to put that before the darkness over all the land, because the sun being darkened causes the darkness. So I'm not going to say there was darkness over the land and the sun was darkened. No, it has to be the sun was darkened and as a result there was darkness over the whole land. Now it makes sense. And when it was about the 6th hour, the sun was darkened and there was a darkness over all the land until the 9th hour.